Good morning, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch with a little bit of paper crafting thrown in too. First off, I want to say Happy St. Patrick's Day. It is Friday, St. Patrick's Day, as I'm filming this. It's a Friday morning. I have my green on. I do have an Irish sweater. My mother-in-law knits the Aran sweaters, but the material is a little scratchy, so I figured I would just go with the green right now instead. If you are new, welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play and giving my channel a try. I hope you like what you see. Hit like, subscribe, feel free to ask questions. And if you're a returning stitching friend, thank you so much for being here whenever you get a chance to, whether you're here every week joining me and we chat every week, or you don't have the time to do that and you just come every once in a while. I appreciate being able to talk stitching with you and just spending some time, whatever you have, together. I am a little bit behind in comments. I think I'm going to be perpetually behind in comments. I always see them, but then I go back and heart and answer and all that stuff. So if you've asked a question, I promise I will definitely get to you. It just sometimes it seems to snowball. So at some point you might get a response to a comment and you forgot you even made it. But it's coming, it's coming. Before I start my stitching, and I have 10 projects to show you today, I just did a couple of beforehand things. First, I've gotten some questions about my floss storage, and so I just wanted to remind everybody that I do have a little bit of a Flosstube extra video where I talk about where I got it and the brand and everything about it, and I pull out, you know, a drawer and everything like that. I'll link that down below in the description box. So if you want to, it's like a 6-7 minute video. It's short. Long story short, these are iris drawer holders, but I will even have links, I think, or I'll give the actual name to it in that other video. So I will do that. So thank you for all your interest in that. I still love these. It's one of my favorite things here that I can just pull out a drawer and grab my DMC, and I know exactly how many I have and whether or not it needs to go on my list to pick up some more. I have at this point, with Michael's coupons and the extra dollar things that they give you, I do have a full set at the moment, but usually when I get down to one, I write myself a note so that I always kind of have extra and ready to go. So that's that. Secondly, I got some people that had said that they had stopped by after Sarah from Sew Me Sarah had shouted me out. Welcome. I'm so glad that you decided to just check out the videos, and I hope, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know that Sarah had talked about me in relation to being an aida stitcher. So if you're an aida stitcher, great. If you stitch on everything, welcome as well. I hope you'll find some inspiration with the colors and the projects, even if it is a different type of fabric that you use. And for all my friends that may not be watching Sarah, she's lovely. Please, please go check her out. I have my cup of tea, I have my stitching, and I just enjoy a nice video whenever she puts one out. All right, and I have a full finish. I should have two, I'll admit. I was tired last night. I really wanted to get one more in, and I just didn't. I said, nope, it's not happening. But I do have one, and I will continue working on these. If you are new, I am not necessarily a seasonal decorator for my house. In fact, I don't really do much seasonal around much of the house. I will and could do in my craft room here. I do have a Hirschner's tree, so I do like to do little ornaments, but I think these may get mixed up with Easter in the process. So this is a St. Patrick's Day one, and I do have I think 3 more pieces that I did want to do for St. Patrick's Day, but again, I also have Easter ones. I could see the Hirschner's tree is big enough. I could see intermingling them all spring long and not just keeping them up for one short month. But there it is. And I'm Irish, so really I could have my Irish ornaments up at any time. This, I believe, is a pattern from Primrose Cottage. And I did decide, I'm not sure, I don't remember if they did show it on the black fabric, but I did decide to do it on that. I really like how it popped. I used all of whatever the called for DMCs were. So that's what it looks like there. It's funny because I wasn't sure how I wanted to go with this. And I luckily had some lighter green fabric because this and another one of my stitches, which I thought I might get finished for you today, don't have that deeper kind of Kelly green. It's actually more the green similar to what I'm wearing. And this fabric, which I have no idea where I got it from, possibly a run to Joann's at some point in time, back when I was in Connecticut, because I have to drive to Dover if I want to go to Joann's here. I had some of this, and I have enough to do the other ornament too, so they'll both have the same fabric. But you can see there, it's a nice little, actually those are X's, ironically enough. That kind of matches. Just a nice little design of a little bit of a deeper green on the light green. And I had, and again, I was looking at my ribbons to decide what I wanted to put as a ribbon. And I decided that I didn't want to do any of the deeper, darker greens like the hunter greens or even Kelly greens or whatever, grass greens, like the green grass greens, because it really wouldn't match. But I had this, and I don't know if you can tell, but it is an actually sparkle sort of ribbon. So all I have to do, I've got the comic board cut for the other ornament, both the layer for the stitching and the layer for the fabric. I really just have to attach those two to the comic book board, attach them all together with the ribbon. I just did some felt on the back and just plain black felt. I mean, something like that. I'm just using the thinner stuff I got at Michael's because nobody's really going to see the back anyway. So this other ornament, which might also be Primrose Cottage, will look similar, but it's just a different size. It's not the square like this one is. So hopefully next week I'll have that to show you, if not the other two as well. I didn't get my finishing time in that I thought I would. And I don't mind finishing. And in fact, like things like this, you know, I have a plan usually, but I just like stitching as opposed to taking the time to go and do the finishing. So, but I have one. This is going to go up on my tree after the video. So there'll be one little lonely ornament on that tree. All right, so that's my full finish. Let's get going with the stitching. Alrighty, so I have two starts. One I had planned and one that was inadvertent. I have one that I should have finished, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. My brain. Sometimes, you know, I don't know about you, but if I don't write things down to remind myself, it's like gone before I even finish reminding myself. All right, but first off, I pulled out Carolyns Balloons Winter. I'm not imminently close to a finish, but I'm not so far away that it's out of the realm. I'm not going to worry about whether or not I'm stitching these within the season, because obviously spring starts next week. You wouldn't know it by the temperatures we've had this week, but it is. I'll just stitch it whenever I want to and whenever I feel like it. So mine's a little bit different in the sense that I changed up the fabric, but I did use the same colors as Jan. For flosses, I've got the DMCs. I don't remember if it's charted in just DMCs. I just picked DMCs as my default, so I generally sometimes don't remember what the actual charted is. Thinking back, I might have changed up a few of the grays, but I think it's fine. I think it looks good. I think it's so much fun on this fabric that I'm okay with it. I don't have remorse, let's put it that way. I just would have potentially changed things up if I had thought about it. So there we are. This is 18 count Lady of the Lake by Fabric by Stephanie. I did Autumn on a lighter blue, I believe also by Stephanie. I don't remember if it was Nantucket Sky. But this one I wanted, because of winter, to do something a little bit deeper, especially when I saw like there's the different whites and everything else that Jan had charted on here, that I thought, especially, it's 3865, but those snowflakes really do pop. And the center of this one there really pops. This, at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all the external edges of the balloons are done. And all of the balloons, the insides are done except for this one. Now there is, in this little basket, there is, I thought it was a bunny, to be honest with you. Just the way the ears looked. When I saw Carolyn from Xstitch, she's the Carolyn from Carolyns Balloons, stitching this, she said it was a cat, which I suppose would make sense because Carolyn has cats. But I went to stitch it, and looking at it in the picture and looking at it here, I'm not loving it. Nothing against the cat / bunny, but I think because all the other baskets are empty and the baskets were empty in autumn, I'm choosing not to stitch that little piece there because it really kind of looks like a blob because it's so small. It has to be, right? I mean, you've got this little teeny tiny basket. So I'm skipping that. The other thing that I changed slightly was the placement a little bit of some of these snowflakes. If you look at the pattern, Jan has snowflakes. She has, and I have one of those stitched. She has some of the, you know, the little 4-stitch snowflakes, 1, 2, and then 1. She has those, and then she has just stray flakes, single flakes spread about. I don't think I'm just going to do the stray flakes. I will do a bunch of these, probably the 4-stitched ones, or if there's an empty spot, I might take one of these designs and stitch it again somehow or other. But I know I moved a couple of these. I think I moved this closer between the two. So there's just a few different things where I move them slightly. And like I said, like over here, I'll do a couple of 4-stitch snowflakes, or depending, yeah, I probably will. I don't think I'll do one of the bigger ones, but I could, depending on the size. So that's the only kind of change to the design I'm making, is I'm not doing the cat / bunny, and I'm not doing the single snowflakey things, but just kind of changing up the placement of some of the snowflakes. At this point, I have this inside left to do. Now I have to be in a good counting frame of mind. If I'm tired, I'll work down here, which is the sign and then the little town, which is a lot easier for the brain when you have to count. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll work on this week. I might. There is an event in plans that I'm going to do this weekend that just requires 100 to 200 stitches on projects. So maybe I will pull this out and throw in, maybe I'll do the sign that says winter or something or other. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know what I'm doing yet. It's a surprise. All right, so let's put that over here. Now this one I'm only going to show quick because you saw it last week. I finished up the stitching for it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it got 3 more days of stitching. But sometimes, you know, if you're new and you haven't seen it before, or you didn't get a chance to see last week's video, I do like to show my projects, even if there's only, say, 400 stitches worth of progress. And I don't know about others, but I know some people are always hesitant. You know, I was watching Beth from the Steadfast Stitcher last night, and she had a couple starts that were tiny, and she said, I wasn't sure if I was going to show them. And I'm glad she did, because these are projects that I wouldn't have known about, or, you know, I wanted to see how she started the colors. Maybe it's something that's new to me and I'm interested in it. So I'm always happy when people show stuff, even if it's a little bit. If not, if you aren't, this will be quick, don't worry. So this was the full coverage from last week, really, that I focused on. It's mini until the end. It's charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and the artist is Rose Kahn. And like all of my full coverages, I start in the upper left corner for a couple of reasons. I am a lefty stitcher, even though I don't write lefty. I do some things lefty. I do eat lefty. I'm kind of like, I could write lefty if I needed to, but it's a lot messier. So somehow or other, back way back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was probably early 90s when I was stitching first, I just picked it up with my left hand, and even though it's years and years later, when I went back to it in 2019, that was what felt comfortable. So I feel like that, the way the stitching motion is for me and the way I hold the fabric in the right hand, means that I generally start things in the upper left, full coverage or not, but most especially full coverage. That's where I ended up. This is done on an 18 count white aida, 2 strands over 1 full cross. And I am actually really proud of, except for there's a couple of little holes up here, all of the little pieces confetti wise is pretty much filled in. I mean, down here I was working on just one color, so not, but up here that's all fully filled in. Now, I've said this before, I have no plan when I do full coverages. I pretty much just stitch sometimes in one direction, sometimes in another. Sometimes I concentrate on one color the whole session that day. I try to do, if I pick a project for a week, I try to do about 100 to 150 stitches a day, and who knows what I'll focus on that given day. So that's why it's all over the place. You never see my full coverage stitch the same. And I really don't understand the concept of parking. And all those extra threads make me, well, uncomfortable. So I just wing it and do it this way. I'm always amazed and fascinated when people show their parking projects, but it just doesn't, it's not me. All right, next, Owl Forest Embroideries, Black Vintage Sampler. You actually didn't see this last week for a change. I did a little bit of a zoom stitching on this, and there was some other point too. I don't remember why. This one is so great. Oh, I went to my neighborhood needlework group yesterday, and I brought this. I should have picked a different area to stitch on when I did it. Because I ended up having to frog some stuff because I was talking. But actually, let me show you the full, and then I'll fold it over. That's what it looks like right now. This is done on an 18 count rainy day fabric from Bestitchme. When I chose this, I really wanted, this is pretty darn close to what I envisioned. You know, everything kind of reminds me, you know, it's vintagey, kind of, I'm thinking London, I'm thinking foggy, rainy, that kind of stuff. And so I wanted a fabric that kind of evoked that image. I could have found something maybe a little grayer, but when I saw this, and I can't remember if this was a fabric of the month or if I won it in I think I won it in the Friday Night Fight Night at one point. I don't even remember anymore. But it was just perfect, and it was a good size because this was a 18 by 29, and this project is big. I think I gave myself 2-inch margins, so I needed fabric that was 15 by 24, which my normal fabric of the months are usually a little bit too small for that. So, or some of them are, you know, when you buy the fat quarter. So this was just perfect in a lot of different ways. I worked on originally. The first set of stitching I worked on over here, finishing that, got the umbrella, and I started the woman. I will use this for my categories related to humans, and it's the letter N. So both him and her have noses. So that will be what my little connection is. And then yesterday morning, I stitched on it again, and I worked more on this house. And that's probably wasn't a great idea when I'm talking. The house is beautiful. Look at all the different kind of designs to it. It's huge. It is over 2 pages, so that does give a little bit of extra challenge. And I was just stitching along, and I had, let me see here. Where is it? Where is the house? Right there. So you see there's the 4 openings. I had stitched through the top of the first one, and I briefly thought about I thought to myself, well, maybe what I'll just do is that's the top one. Maybe it would just have, not that, you know, wouldn't have the 4 pieces. But that design repeats itself across the entire house. I'm even going to make this smaller. And I just didn't want to have to keep doing that. And I wasn't sure I would like it that way. If it was just the one spot, okay, it might work. But you're going to notice I didn't do the back stitching yet. I'll do that at the end. Both of their faces, him and her, have back stitching. That might be all actually in the whole project. So I did, it was only about 10-ish or so stitches. So I did pull it out in the end. At first I was like, what did I do wrong? And then I had to find the mistake. But then once I did, I realized I hadn't gone too far. And so I did pull it out. But this stitch is no joke. I mean, look at how beautiful the roof is, but you definitely have to kind of pay attention. So I did mostly this because this, I felt like I could kind of, was I wrong? Yes, I should have finished stitching her because she's a little straighter. But I did work on that, and then I did a little bit of the roof as well before time ran out. Usually we stitch for about an hour and a half we get together. So, and of course some of that time you spent talking or whatever. So, you know, sometimes Sometimes I get more in than others. For the amount of time, this is actually more than you think it is. I think that's the mantra when it comes to cross stitch, right? You think that little square is going to be nothing, and it's a couple hundred stitches, right? So, you know how much I love that one. I think you will continue to see it, if not on a weekly basis, pretty close to a weekly basis, because I just enjoy it. And there's just times when I want the monochromatic, especially if I'm zooming. I find that one, oh, interesting. I don't know why I did that. I find that one really works. Oh, funny. It says more from this shop. I want the actual project that I stitched. That is so funny. All right, so if I click on one of these, maybe it'll bring me then to the other one. That is odd. I wanted to show you just because I don't, this is I actually didn't print off. Let's see, let me go see more if that will bring me to the shop itself. There we go. And then let me just search. When I print off black and white, if I had printed the cover sheet on this, I think it would have been fine. That's funny. For some reason, it's not showing. I'm just going to bring the search up. Maybe, you know, maybe it sold in the process. And so right now it's not available since I did this. That, I bet you that's what it is. And it's just showing more from the shop. This is a digital piece, so I'm sure it can be put back in. For the month of March, obviously, I did, my March is Daffodils. But I wanted to do this one because it is Ireland and we have St. Patrick's Day. So why not a better time to do that? I've done a version of this stitch in Delaware. So now I wanted to do Ireland. And I do have, and I don't think I showed them to you, I do have a couple travel posters that I put on my wish list on Etsy, and then one day I got a notice that they were on sale. So I did order them. One is Ireland and one is Delaware. So at some point I'll have to show those to you. I now live in Delaware, if you're wondering why I'm stitching Delaware. I did live in Connecticut for most of my life. We moved down here about, actually the closing was March 19th. So it's been almost a year now since we have moved down here full time. For a little bit, we were splitting our time between the two states. But, and then Ireland, because we just have a lot of history from Ireland. So I like to stitch those. This is from Vlada Xstitch on Etsy. It'll be linked down below. Now what I'm not doing, and I didn't do it with Delaware either, is I'm not stitching the word. I know what it is. This will be scrapbooked just like Delaware will be. I would love to find, I have some pictures and I don't know if I still have them. I have a picture of me on a donkey when I was probably about 7 or 8 when we were in Ireland. When my grandmother was alive, we would go every summer when I was little. And I think they were just perfect, you know, and then obviously there's more pictures that we can go. Mo and I went to Ireland after we'd been married a year. We went for our summer vacation before kids. So a lot of those pictures are already scrapbooked. So I don't know if I'd be able to add them to this kind of scrapbook, but we'll see. Anyway, let me show you the project. And I do want to talk about potential changes. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing. So right now I'm just at the tippy top, and this is done on an 18 count champagne fabric. And I obviously messed it up since I ironed it. And this fabric is from Hand Dyed by Rolanda. And that's 2 different colors and over 500 stitches. I was like, well, that's a good start. We're just gonna stop right there. I'm in blues for a little bit. Now, this is my dilemma, and this is where I might change. I'm looking at it. Oh gosh darn, it keeps changing. There we go. I'm looking at it and I see why. Do you see the greens? I see why they're actually very, apparently my sweater matches a lot of the greens I'm showing you today. They're definitely more the yellow greens rather than your kind of green greens. And with this fabric, which is already kind of a yellow based, I'm not 100% sure I like them. Now I love, there's three different, there's a light, a medium, and a dark. And I love how, and that's the same thing that's happening with the blue. You can see there's two different shades of blue. I like how Vlada Xstitch does that, is that they, you know, they kind of blend the different shades of the same color in. But I have to do some serious, yeah, I think this one has sold, and that's why it keeps showing. It keeps going to more from the store. It keeps, anyway, I'm going to have to do some serious looking. I like that it's not green, because in my mind, I thought I was going to go green, but when I'm looking at it now, I'm not sure I want to go green, three different shades. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these colors, I'll take the colors that I thought I might go that were kind of more green, and then I'll take out my DMC book. I'm telling you, this thing is a godsend. When it comes to changing out threads, it is so helpful, and I use it all the time. So I'd like to get a little bit of work done on this. Obviously, it'll still be a lot more blues. So this weekend, I'll try to at least get this in part of my 100 to 200 stitches. So I'm hoping to get a little bit more done on this. I won't be near the green part anytime soon. But you know, what I thought I was going to do, looking at it now, I'm not 100% sure exactly what I'm going to do. So stay tuned. And what are your... I do like it this way, but I think against my yellow, it's just going to be too yellow. Do you have any thoughts? I'd love to hear them. I always love hearing your thoughts. All right. That's my dilemma. Let's move on. That's a crisis for another day. All right. So this month, this was one of my starts, was my March's Daffodil. And I used this for my pseudo 25/7 this week. I don't think I did it all 7 days. I think I did 5 out of the 7 days. I stitched on it for 25 minutes. I thought that was kind of a good idea, and it did help to get myself along progress-wise. I know some of you really like stitching like one project either monogamously or say for 3-4 days. I touch probably at a minimum of 2, up to 3, 4, 5 projects a day, depending on how much stitching time I have, of course, how little bit. If I did like 100 stitches on each one, I could, you know, easily probably touch 5 projects, or just how I'm feeling or what I'm doing while I'm stitching kind of thing. So you never know. But this one was nice. I did just do, it probably was at most 100 a day. Sometimes with the 25/7, depending on what I'm stitching, I can get that much, and maybe I go a little bit more than, if it's a big plain spot, I can do probably 100 stitches in a half an hour. But if I have to change colors and count a lot, I can't. But that's where I am. I purposely wanted to introduce some more colors. So I did finish up here with the border, but then I did do the butterfly, and I did do the flower, which is a couple different colors. I believe that the inside that you're going to see is the same for all of them. So some of these are white. Actually, no. Yeah, 2 of them are white. 3 of them, including this one, will be that yellow. And then the white ones will have the orange plus a little bit of yellow in the center. So that will get repeated, even though the white is a little bit different. And I think the white's going to show up nicely on this. I think this is dark enough. This is an 18 count lilac mist. It is also by hand dyed by Rolanda. And that's what it looks like. I have a little hanger there I have to cut off. These will be scrapbooked. I'll probably just do them each month in a row. I might, depending, do 2 on a page, actually. I could probably do these on an 8.5 by 11 page and get 2 per page. So that's what that one looks like, and I will continue working on that through the month of March before we pull out April. All right, now, next piece. I have been trying to make an effort to look through my projects in the course of a week. So a couple weeks ago, you saw Earth Laughs by Jen Hicks. Then you saw Love Boat Sampler by Earth Designs. Those were both pieces that had not seen work, certainly in this year, but probably even months before that. They just haven't had work in a while. So I've been going back, and as I flip through in the course of a week, I look for one that maybe hasn't seen a lot of work. And this one hadn't seen work probably since, I would bet you this was October, the last time this saw any stitching, given the subject matter. And so I decided to pull this one out and get some more work done. And it's a quick stitch. I think if I sat down and stitched this, beads notwithstanding, it would get done, the stitched part, very quickly. This is called Celtic Pumpkin, and it is from Frony Ritter Designs. I want to say in a, I don't know if it's a punch needle or if it's just cross stitch. Frony Ritter has a set of 3 of these that kind of have that sort of similar design. And it's not a pumpkin, it's a couple other things. And so they kind of all match. And I can't remember which magazine. I do have it because I remember thinking, oh, I could stitch those along with this one at some point. I'll have to, next time when well, whenever I plan on going for it. But if you really want me to find out, I will do a little searching. If you're okay with waiting, at some point, I'm sure I'll pull them out. But this is the one I worked on, and I worked exclusively on the pumpkin. I didn't touch any of the greenery this time. So here we are. It's smaller than you realize. I mean, here you look at the picture and you're like, ooh, that's pretty big. But then when I cut the fabric, I was like, oh, all right, that's legit. So 18 count, it's called Barely Lime. And this is a fabric flare. So I got it from Dove Stitch. It is white on the backside. It is just very light. And when they say Barely Lime, they mean it. But it's pretty. It's a very, very subtle light green. And I think with this pattern, you know, the dark greens show up nicely, the oranges. If I was stitching white, I would be a little worried that it might not show up, but there is none in this, so it doesn't really matter. I think this was a good choice for this one. And there are, I want to say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 oranges of varying shades that will take you from outer to inner and then back, you know, again, kind of like an ombre sort of look towards the center of the pumpkin. So, and if you really like this design, and you know, maybe it's a dexterity thing, maybe you just don't like beads, but Frony Ritter does give a DMC conversion so that you do not have to do this in beads if you didn't choose to, which I thought was really nice. I'm sure there's charts online, but for them to do it right here and you don't even have to go searching, I thought was, you know, that little extra step. I like when designers do the little extra step and think about everybody. But I don't know when you'll see this again. I enjoyed it though. I really liked it. And even though there is a good amount of counting, it's chunks of color with the counting. So it goes pretty quickly. I'm wondering, depending on what you stitched it on, and say you did all of the stitching, you might just like it with the negative. You might not even want to put either stitches or beads. I do like sometimes that kind of negative look of the image. It can be really kind of cool. So that's another idea if you're thinking about things down the line. Now, this one, I am such a silly goose. This should be a finish. It should be a finish. I'm not even gonna, this is on me. I was stitching this and I pulled it out and I gave it some time for a couple days and I said, I can finish this week. Excuse me. And I gave it some time on Wednesday and I said, Thursday morning, I am going to stitch this and finish it and it will be finished for my video. And whoop, didn't even think about it all day Thursday. Didn't in the least. I didn't until I went to iron this morning and I saw it and I said, oh my goodness, this should have been a finish. So you will see this next week, but I am going to finish it. This is a little cottage and it is from Hands On Design. Super cute. I am not stitching the white inside the sign. I've chosen not to do that. The other thing you're going to see slightly different, if you look, and actually it's hard to see. If you look at the flags up top, their little flag pole is back stitched I wasn't loving that idea. So I actually did, there was room to make X's, and it's just 3 X's down the row. So I used the same, oh, so interesting. The color that the little pier that the houses is on is so different in the picture than mine. Now, it is charted in an overdyed floss, Gentle Arts, and it's charted in, is it charted in? Chamomile. That doesn't really look like chamomile to me. Looks more brown. But anyway, I took what my DMC alternative, and they do give DMC alternatives in here. I took that and I used it for the little flagpoles, and I made X's out of them. So it makes the flags a little bit more substantial. So that's where I am. I concentrated on finishing those houses. I finished up the flags. I did the entire pier. All I have left is this, and I want to stitch just white inside the center of the little the shell. Oh, and the name of it's just completely, it'll come to me about an hour from now. That's it. That's all I have to do. So I easily could have finished this yesterday. This is an 18 count purple haze from To Dye For Fabrics. And I know purple's a little unconventional for like summer stuff, but I thought these colors looked kind of fun on it, and I just wanted something different. You know how much blue I stitch. So I'm like, I got to use some of those other fabrics too. So there we go. Really need to just buckle down and get that done. So hopefully you will see that finished next week. The other one that I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I can get a finish on next week is my Prairie Schooler Santa. And I am almost done with this entire set of 3. This last one here I'm working on is this. And I was looking at this, and if you look really close, there is a little back stitching here. It's like a little, like, I don't know if it's what it's supposed to be. Curly Q sort of leaves. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. I've decided I don't think it adds to it. I like it the way it is. I'm not going to do it. Let me fold over the little bit I have. I have cut this down. So there he is. This is an 18 count. Picture this plus, and it's Jade fabric. I have stitched quite a few Prairie Schooler Santas on Jade. I have room for one more down here. And I do have, I'm sure, other year ones. If not, I saw this year's. It's kind of cute. I think there's a few things I wouldn't stitch in it, but it is cute. There it is. So my focus this week was Santa. I finished all of this, which was over 500 stitches. So when I had hit that, I said, that's it for him. I do have this little bit of border left. And then there's, I don't know if that's supposed to be an apple, whatever this is. And then the pineapple. And that's it. That's it. That's all I've got. So I'm really hopeful. There is, with the pineapple, there are multiple color changes. So that could take me a little bit longer. The border should be pretty easy because it's a very easy design. It's the easiest design of the 3. This one just had a big chunk of stitching, so that's kind of why I did it. But this really, so you might see 2 finishes next week. I'm excited. We'll see. And these, I don't know if I only did 1 last year, but these are ornaments that will go on my crafty Christmas tree up here. I have a tree that I put in the corner over there, and I put all of my handcrafted ornaments stitched, but other years of other types of ornaments as well, paper crafted and other kinds of things. Okay, I did not plan on having another new start besides my Ireland piece, but I just felt like it, you know, and this is fun for me. This is not a job. This is not something I have to do. It's just a hobby, and I've decided that if I want to start something, then I'm going to start it. And if that means I have 500 projects, then so be it. If nowhere near 500, I'm lucky. I might have 50. I don't think so, but I'm south of 50. But it really doesn't bother me one way or the other. The only time I ever actually count is when I do the project parade at the end of the year and I number everything. Otherwise, I never know. I don't keep track of finishes, then how many I've started and what's my number at. I don't do any of that. So this is a new place for me. They have not just full coverage, but they have a lot of full coverage, and they have a lot of beach full coverage. So that was what got me in the first place. And so I had bought a set of 3 of these. There's 3 women designs, and I decided I wanted to start one of them. So this is Simple Wave Studio, is the Etsy store. And I think this one is just called Beach Girl in Red Dress. Girl at the beach. But this one, I know somewhere else it might be on the actual pattern. It says something about red dress. So the other 2 girls at the beach are in slightly different positionings, but they're both in white dresses. And I do have both of those as well. I just decided I wanted to start one of them. And I think this one I had easily printed off already. So I just said, I'll just start this one. And as usual, I'm starting up here. Now, these are not huge. And in the relation of full coverage, this is 150 by 188. So certainly quite doable. In fact, it's only, now it is a little bit smaller print than some of my other charts, but it is only 4 pages, 1, 2, and 3, 4. So it's not a huge pattern. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. With, 50 pages or something or other, just the 4. And really page 1 is the only, I think, full page. I think page 2 almost goes to the edge, but not. And then 3 and 4 do not go all the way down to the bottom of the page. So it's really, it's my smallest full coverage that I would have at the moment. But I just thought it was so pretty. And I just got the top done. I've probably got about 500 stitches into it at this point. But I love the blue with the different grays, because right now they're tapping into a lot of the grays to go with the blue. And I think it's pretty. So that's my start. This is like all of my full coverage, 18 count, white aida, 2 strands over 1, full cross. And I was getting ready. There's a lot of confetti in her hair, because who knew there were so many shades of brown. But this right here is the outline to her head. So now we will be starting all the confetti with her hair. But balance that off with, over here, there's a huge chunk of just one color stitching. So that will be really nice in the sense of I can do some confetti, then kind of take a break and do one color, because, that gets boring too. And then take a break and go back to the confetti. So, I mean, this is it. This is the whole cut piece. And I did give myself full coverage, are the only pieces I do give a full 3-inch on each side. I don't give a full 3-inch border on anything else besides my full coverages. 1 3/4, 2 inches tops is pretty much all I give. And if I know it's going to be an ornament, it may just get a 1.5-inch border, because it really doesn't need any more than that. You're just cutting off extra fabric. I stitch in hand. I don't have to worry about it fitting in a hoop or a Q-snap or anything like that. So that's where that is. It will get some more time this week, because I do want to get at least 1,000 for my Lion versus Lamb event on Whip Warriors. I am not stitching... I'm not doing it least amount of stitches to most. I couldn't be bothered with that because I don't have things in like a pattern keeper or markup RXP at the moment. I do have markup RXP, but I'm still really liking my paper patterns. So that's how I plug along on it. And I wasn't going to sit there and try to count and figure that out just to do that part of the challenge. So I'm just putting in 1,000 stitches, and then if I choose to, move on, or I could keep going. It's pretty much kind of whatever. All right, I have one more for you. Now, what is going on with my Etsy today? It does not want to show me the projects that I actually searched. I don't get it. Let me try this again here. I'll set you up the story while I'm trying to. So, what day was it? Stitchrovia on Etsy. It was... I want the shop Stitchrovia. It was Tuesday, because I remember we had to drop Mo's car off at the dealer. It needed something with the tires or something or other. It still needed more work, but it was enough that, it could wait type of thing. And it was fine. It was chilly that morning, but you know, nothing. My Etsy is so funny. I'm curious if yours is working this way. When I go to search something, it's not actually showing me the piece. It's showing me more from that shop. I don't get it. Something's up with Etsy this morning. So I'll just show you the search part of it. Let me show you that first so you see it. Well, no, I got to finish my story. So anyway, so I came home and I was getting ready to have some breakfast, whatever. And I look outside and there's like this mass flurry of snowflakes. You know how you get those little light ones and it looks, you know, all of a sudden you just see this rush of them all over and they're the light things that are just swirling and whatever. That lasted for 2 minutes. It stopped. There was a little bit of snow on the little patio outside our house. I said, snow day, it's a snow stitch. Within half an hour, the sun was out, the snow was gone. There was nothing there, but I saw those snowflakes. They were there, so I said, that's it, it's a snow stitch day. And so I pulled out On the Beach from Stitchrovia, which is my snow stitch. I chose to stitch something summery when it snowed. So that's what it'll eventually look like. This is where I am right now. This is done on an 18 count. Actually, I can show you right from here. I gave myself way bigger margin than I realized down here. That's the bottom right there. 18 count beach sand from To Die For Fabrics. I purposely chose something like this because I wanted it to look like the beach in between all of my sunbathers. This water is full coverage, so it doesn't really matter. I thought it was fun, so that's what I did. And I like this color. I think it works well with it. Works well with those. So I did a little bit more of my little rafter in the water. Almost done. There is a section by the head there that I need to finish. And then I focused on all of this, which is a bunch of different colors and took me longer than I thought it would. So there are, this is kind of the last umbrella. And then there's a little, you know, kind of little, I think there's a little crab and there's some flip-flops. There's a bunch of little things here. And then the water starts. So I'm kind of working my way there. And potentially, since that's the highest, working the water this direction, potentially, rather than going up. I could change my mind next time I stitch this. So I'm not guaranteeing that's the way it's going to get stitched. But except for some back stitching and the center of these balloons, because they all, umbrellas, they have different colors, you know, in the center part of the umbrella. But that and back stitching, all of this is done. All of the sunbathers. So I'm really just focusing on this bottom section. And that's it. That's where it got. So, I mean, it's been cold, but it's the middle of March. I really don't know if, well, we never actually got snow. I mean, beyond just it coating the grass a little bit, we never actually had to shovel. We never had any snow. So my snow stitching was, I was reaching. I should have done below a temperature. Then I could have had a stitch every day. At least now. It's gotten colder. It was warmer in January. But, so that will just come out regular stitching just to work on it type of thing in the future. Because I really don't think there's going to be any. Again, maybe there's going to be a stray flake floating around. And I'll take full advantage and say it's a snow stitch day. But I think we're pretty much done with the snow. So that's my stitching. That's what I did. So plans for this week. I am part of the group Whip Warriors. It used to be called No New Starts, but they've kind of changed their, you can still do No New Starts if you choose to, but there is a stitch what you want when you want sort of tracked, so to speak. And that's, of course, my stitching. So I joined it when that was something that was available. I would never have done No New Starts because I could never have adhered to it. I probably would have lasted 2 weeks. So this weekend, their event is called Whip Frenzy. And so it's already started. It started, I think, 1 a.m. my time. So there's probably people with already like 20 whips that they've already touched. I haven't touched a thing. The idea is to touch as many of your projects as possible with 100 to 200 stitches. I don't think I will get much stitching done today. It's through the weekend, so I'll have some stitching time on Saturday and Sunday, but not a like ton of uninterrupted Mo is around tomorrow, so, you know, obviously on the weekends I actually get much more stitching done during the week. These events need to be during the week. During the weekend, I don't seem to get as much stitching with him around. And then Sunday, though, I think he's volunteering with the dogs for a good, like a 3-hour stretch. So I will use that to do some stitching. So I think what my plan is I will touch projects that I want to touch, and I'll do 100 to 200 stitches, whatever. And then after the weekend, I will revisit them and give them some more stitching over the week. So this way, by the time you see them on Friday, they will have hopefully had their 300 to 500 stitches, which is what I really like to give each project that you see from week to week, so that there is some progress. Beyond that, I don't have a plan on what it is that I will stitch. I will work on the Ireland piece, and I will work on my St. Patrick's gnome, because today is St. Patrick's Day. So this week he needs to get a little bit of work on him. And other than that, you know, we'll just happen to see what I feel like picking up. So loose plans, nothing really, really big. Alrighty, shopping. I have a tiny bit of shopping. So I have a bit of disappointment. And I never pre-order for market. I don't. Honestly, there's nothing that I have to have that soon, because I never start anything that quick. I already have things usually. Once in a blue moon, maybe I get something that I have to start, but rarely. But this year I was kind of like, okay, Carolyns Balloons for spring is coming out. The Liz Matthews, her next day of Christmas. I said, I'm going to pre-order because I know I want those anyway. So I'll pre-order those. There's a couple other things that looked cute. And then I got, well, at least one, if not two things that I wanted to do for you all as giveaways. I didn't choose the right store. I should have gone with Abby Top Knot. I thought about it because people already have Abby stuff, and I thought about it, but there was one thing she didn't have. I should have asked her if she could have gotten it for me, and I would have gone with next. I know my lesson. I'm not going to say who I have pre-ordered from, but it doesn't look like I'm getting the pre-order until April at some point. I'm not really sure. So the things that I got for you will just be a little bit late. I was hoping to, right after market, do them as giveaways, but it is the way it is, right? Just something to look forward to in April. But after all of that, when market, I don't know if market had already started. My friend Amy sent me an Instagram, and she said, look at this. Or did she? Or I had already seen it on Instagram, and then I think we were both on the same wavelength. I don't remember how it worked. Market, I think, had already started, though. And so I immediately went to like 123 Stitch, and it said notify me. So I put in the little notify me. By the time market was over, you could order it. I ordered it. 123 shipped it within a day, and I had it by this weekend. This was one I don't know when I'm starting it. I have to plan on fabric, and I might have to get a bigger piece. I don't even know the size of it. And I think everybody and their uncle is going to be stitching it, so you're going to see it a lot. But I mean, I couldn't not. It's Summer Quaker by Leela Studios, right? Yeah. I mean, seriously, I thought about maybe just the centerpiece, because I really like the Spring Quaker. But what I really like about the Spring Quaker is the middle piece. And I have flirted with the idea of just stitching that. But there's lobsters and little crabs, and this Quaker has crabs in it. So this one, the full piece, is getting stitched. I have to look at the size, and then I have to figure out what color, and I don't know if I'll have a size big enough. I might have to order some fabric. So I don't know when I'm starting this. But I had to get it. This was one that I absolutely had to get. Amy did send me a picture of the tiny town, the summer ocean tiny town, but that's not out till May. I haven't stitched, I do have blooming tiny town. I haven't really stitched them. I plan on stitching them, I think, a little bit different, because I don't plan on putting them on something and displaying them like that. But I must stitch that little ocean one, and I might stitch it as is. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. It is so cute and so adorable. If you haven't seen it, it screams me. I have to stitch it. So that will be something that I will order immediately in May, even if I don't stitch it. I had to have this one. So kudos to 123 Stitch. They were with it. I got it so quickly. And then I did order one other piece, and that was it. I only ordered those two because I have that other pre-order I'm waiting for. And I decided, I thought this was cute for colors, and I decided to give it a try. So this is Ink Circles, and it's Tea Berry Tile, and I adore those colors. Now, This is part of the Tea Time palette, where cross stitch the rainbow. So I don't know how many designers, you've heard this from a lot of Flosstubers. A lot of designers took these silks, and it's 4 colors, and they designed something, right? I have no intention of buying the silk pack. None whatsoever. None. I like my DMC. I'm happy with it. If I buy DMC, I can buy more fabric. That's the way I look at it. And if you want to buy the silks, I think that's fabulous. Go for it. Do it. I just happen to be... I value the fabric colors more than I do the flosses. And what's funny is, so ink circles, what I did was I ordered this because it was small. All right, they're all mostly small. And I said, if it only shows the silk color, then I'll do it as a giveaway. Because I would be happy to share it with all of you. And I'm sure many of you have gotten the silk packs, which is fantastic. Pretty, pretty colors. I'm sure the silks are gorgeous. But there is... and she does give a DMC alternative, although she says DMC-ish, which I thought was really kind of cute. So what I will do is I will pull the 4 colors that she said for the DMC. And then I will pull out my DMC card and I will decide on fabric, because I don't know if I would do something like this fabric-wise. This is done on a 36 count old weathered barn linen by Mountain Air. I really don't know what I would do. I want the general color scheme. And then I will pick out. So then once I have my fabric and I have the suggested DMCs, I will decide if I like that, or I will look at my book and change it up a little bit. So there'll be a little bit of a process with this, but it's only 4 colors, so it's not going to be super difficult. And I was really appreciative of the fact that there was a DMC alternative, that I didn't have to buy the specialty threads for that. So I am keeping it for now. Because I do really like the design. And then once I've stitched it, I'm sure I'll share it with all of you. But, or with one of you. Interesting. I always wondered when they had these specialty packets. I've never gotten any of those designs because I didn't know if it was just for those specialty threads. And I don't know. I don't know if every designer does give a DMC alternative. But I took a chance, and I'm happy that there is a DMC. Not that I couldn't probably figure it out on my own either with the DMC card, but it's nice to have like a jumping off point. So that's it. That was all the shopping that I have here to show you. Like I said, I have pre-order stuff. And then there's one thing I'm still looking for, so I might go back to 1, 2, 3 stitch. We'll see, but there's no huge rush with it type of thing. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So that's it. Let's talk giveaways. I do have a quick reminder. This giveaway, which was the Scattered Seed Samplers Schoolwork Exemplary from Flossing Away, was the winner on this one from last week. So Flossing Away, you have 1 more week to get back to me, or I will choose a new winner on that. My giveaways are for 2 weeks, and then I go and I move on. Okay, so this week's giveaway, if I can find it underneath all my stuff, I had a couple of these months I had doubles. I just don't remember which ones, but this was fortuitous. I looked at it, I said, oh, I have April as a double. Who would want to join me maybe in stitching the April's Daisy from Cottage Garden? So I asked you to say the word Daisy, and I did mix these up before, but I'm going to do one more extra mix. And my winner is, separate all of the things. Who do we have? Jenny Dawn. Congratulations, Jenny. You have won April's Daisy. So if you could get back to me with your address, then I will send that out to you. So I am going to put this back in the packet, and I'm going to keep your name with it so that I do not lose that. And if you don't happen to see this week's video, you will get, I will remind you next week. But if you see it, send me your address. I would love that to send that out to you. All right, so this week, I know that today is St. Patrick's Day, and I mean, to me, we celebrate kind of Irish stuff all the time. So I'm doing this as a giveaway, regardless of the fact that maybe you wouldn't stitch it until next year. I think it would be cute all spring long. It's Gathering Clover from Luminous Fiber Arts. It is an extra. I have 2 of these. I bought 2 of these when I bought these because I figured it'd be fun to share. There is, I do want to, full disclosure, there is just a little bit of a dent, so to speak, in the, but it doesn't affect the pattern at all. So I'm thinking another name for Clover is Shamrock. And in honor of my lovely Shamrock, who in May it'll be 1 year since we've lost him, I'm going to ask you to say the word Shamrock. And if you do, I will put your name in the blue bowl and I will draw a name. But isn't this pretty? I think this would look gorgeous all spring. And I have not stitched any of this series. I probably have, I don't know. I was going to say I probably have 2 or 3 of these, but I have to go through. I'm not sure. I wanted to buy, actually, I like all of them, to be honest with you. And I know back in the very beginning, I gave away a Gathering Berries when she first did them. But I'm not sure how many of these I have. I really like them, and I think they would be super cute to stitch. So I'd like to share this with one of you. As usual with the giveaway rules, please don't say giveaway or free. Please be at least 18, and I would love it if you would be a subscriber. You do not have to be a public subscriber. And I'm taking your word on that. I don't go and look and check. You don't have to fill out any forms ahead of time, but you do have to get back to me within 2 weeks. So I do ask that if you're going to do a giveaway that you do watch and check back to see if you've been called. After 2 weeks, then I go back to the names and I choose a new winner. All right, so that's it. That's all the stitching stuff. If you're here just for stitching, then thanks so much for joining, and I will see you next time. Alrighty, so life stuff. What happened life stuff? Well, Connor went back to school this last weekend, and so he is back ensconced in school for almost, well, not quite a week yet, but well, this will be a week of school classes, right? But I mean, I think there's only 6 weeks left of the semester, so I think it's going to go by pretty quickly. He seemed pretty upbeat about going back. I mean, he slept half of the vacation, so he had to have been good and rested, I think. But you know what? This has been, I think academically, this has been an extremely challenging semester, so I was okay with him sleeping into like 11, and frankly, then that meant I could stitch in the morning. He came up here, and I grabbed my stitching, and I knew that I wasn't bothering anybody, so that was just worked out just fine for me as well. So he is back at school, and Megan, she was supposed to have a game tomorrow. Mo and I were going to go up to Pennsylvania, but it's non-conference season, so they don't play conference games until probably another week or so. And I think most suspects, I happened to look at the schedule, and it said postponed. I mean, some of these non-conference schools are smaller, and they might have just enough girls to field a team, and so he was saying maybe they don't have enough people. You know, once the season starts, there's invariable injuries, right? So he's thinking maybe it got postponed because they don't have enough to field the team. So I'm not going up to Pennsylvania tomorrow. I'm going to putter around here. I am going to go to the library. I have not checked out the library here in Rehoboth in all this time, and I do want to. So that's my big exciting trip. And the library is at the beach, so it's kind of fun there too. Anyway, so that's my plan there. Megan did have a game on Wednesday, which we streamed, and they won, which was good. Again, they're non-conference games, so unless and they don't need to schedule like really, really tough teams because their conference is really, really tough. And several teams, at least 3, are in, if not the top 10, the top 15 in the country for Division III. So they are going to get really good competition when conference games start. So they don't need to be scheduling the top team in the country now to get ready. So they're scheduling teams that are comparable to them. Sometimes you schedule teams from schools that may be smaller than you. So it's a good chance to kind of like, get used to playing with each other without being just battered with like all of these people who are, in the top 10 in the country. But they did pull out a win on Wednesday. Megan's elbow seems to be doing well. She had got that really, and I saw a picture of it after the initial game. Her elbow was 4 sizes bigger than an elbow should be. I don't know if she's still wearing the foam around it because she had It was cold on Wednesday, so they had long sleeves on, and I forgot to ask her. But she did play, and she did score, so obviously her elbow was feeling like okay enough to do that. And, but yeah, you know, I mean, the kids, they start getting battered up as soon as things start, right? So, you know, you're already dealing with some injuries. But luckily, I think this one will be doable, that if she just has the, it's not even a brace, it's just foam covering over it. As long as she has that on there, hopefully then she doesn't get any more knocks and contusions on it, and everything will be just fine. What else? Not a lot. I mean, I had mentioned that I went to my stitching group yesterday, which was a lot of fun. There was just 4 of us, but it was nice. It's just nice to talk, you know, and to stitch. Well, and not everybody even stitches. Like, it's needlework, so some people will knit or crochet, a needlepoint. I know at one point a woman was finishing up a latch hook project. So it was just kind of cool just to see everything that everybody's doing, and just a lot of fun. And you catch up on what's going on in the neighborhood, which is always kind of good too. Mo and I did go out to dinner on, so Megan's game on Wednesday, even if the games are quicker, sometimes, you know, some of them are longer than others, depending on timeouts and injuries or whatever. But this one went fairly quick, but it still didn't get over till 5:30, and I hadn't started cooking dinner. So I said to Mo, let's go out, because by the time we cook dinner, and we don't go out very often, so, you know, it's always a nice treat. So we did go down to Dewey Beach. There is a restaurant down there that has a lot of vegan options. It's a Dewey Beer, I don't know if it's called Dewey Beer Company, Dewey Beer Restaurant. I don't remember exactly. Dewey Beer is part of what it is. And they do a lot of their own handcrafted artisanal beers. But they have at least 4 different vegan sandwich options. They have 3 or 4 vegan entree options. It's one of the few places in the area that has multiple vegan options. So it's fun and we only had just discovered it. And you can't go there in season because there's like no parking. And Dewey Beach in season is just wild. So we are going to try to take advantage of it as much as possible now before the season starts. And Dewey is funny because the main road, which is Route 1 through Dewey, the beach is literally a stone's throw away. So the restaurant's right on like the Route 1, and not even 5 minutes. I don't even think it's a 5-minute walk. It's like a 3-minute walk and you're at the beach. So after dinner, we just walked up. It was with the time change, it was still light and the sky was all pink, and it was so pretty against the blue water. So it was chilly. We didn't stay long, but it was just nice to, you know, a few minutes, just kind of get some beach time in. It's been very, very cold, so there's been no beach stitching lately. But that was good. It was nice to get out, do something a little different, and, you know, enjoy ourselves a little bit. So we did that. I have been struggling with the time change like crazy. I don't know about the rest of you, but the older I get, the longer it takes me to recover from the time change. And I just get cranky. I'm not gonna lie, I'm cranky because I'm tired and everything's thrown off, and I'm okay with keeping it the other way. You know, I mean, sure, I like it when it's light at 8:30 at night, but honestly, you would not want that year round, because in the height of winter, it would be dark at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning is before the sun would come up. So if I had to choose between the two, I would choose is it standard? I don't even know. This would be daylight saving, so I guess that's standard time, right? I would choose that. Okay, it wouldn't be quite as light at night in the summer, but it wouldn't be pitch dark half the day in the winter. So, so I'm a little cranky dealing with it. I still haven't gotten back to my normal bedtime, and the mornings I'm still having trouble getting up. So it's just all the way around. I've just been completely messed up with it. If you have any tips, tricks, or whatever to kind of get your body used to it quicker, send them my way, because I am abysmal. Either direction, whether I lose an hour or gain an hour, I still am thrown off for at least a week. So, and I don't sleep the best to begin with. Then you throw that in there and then, whew, forget it altogether. So anyway, I've been dealing with that this week too. And yeah, that's about it. I am today is St. Patrick's Day. We are actually going, and this is part of why I won't have stitching time. Mo's cousin lives down here, her and her husband, and she's doing a St. Patrick's dinner tonight. So we are going over there and visiting. We haven't seen them in quite some time at this point. They're very busy, so it's tough getting a hold of them. But that will mean pretty much no stitching. I am not a Guinness drinker, but I did find a recipe, and if this is the second time I'm making it, so if it works out really well, I'll share it with you. It's a Guinness chocolate cake. And so I made it on Monday, because you know, when you bring some, I'm not a baker. I like to cook better than I'm baking. Baking is too much of a science for me, and I pretty much mess it up all the time. So I can make cookies, but other than that, and even then, you know, the timing always messes me up in the oven. Other things I generally don't bake a lot. Maybe like a pie. Pies are easy too. But so I decided, okay, I'm gonna try this cake. It's vegan, because Guinness is vegan, for those of you who are wondering. It's a Guinness chocolate cake, and then it has a cream cheese frosting. And so I made it on Monday to practice. And somewhere along the way, I don't know what I did. The cake tasted really good, but it was very crumbly. Like, you go to cut into it and it would just like crumble. And there would look like I must have not gotten all the air out, because there was kind of like an air pocket in part of it too. So I got the recipe from a food blogger who I get a lot of recipes from, and I like her recipes. So I figured, I didn't think it was her recipe. I figured it was me. So I sent her a message on Instagram, and she very kindly, she gave me like 7 responses of this huge long thing, because baking is a science and there's so many things that could go wrong. So she gave me a ton of suggestions and ideas of things that it might be. And so this morning I got it very early, and I got the cake baked. I got up and I baked it before I even started getting ready for filming. And I measured things out. Like, I didn't just do, you know, like a cup of flour, whatever, how much flour. I took out the scale, and she's British, although she lives in Canada. And so she does a lot of like grams and that kind of stuff. But my scale has that. So I measured everything to the gram. I mean, Mo was laughing at me because I got the flour to the gram. I got the cocoa powder to the gram. So fingers crossed that the cake came out good. And then the cream cheese frosting had come out good the first time I made it. So I'm, knock on wood, it should be fine. That part should be fine. So I will do the frosting this afternoon. I will frost the cake, and I will let you know what happens after we bring it over there tonight. I'm really hoping that it doesn't completely crumble again. But you know what? It tasted good. It just happened to be a bit more crumbly. And with the frosting, it's okay. I'm still learning my oven too, because I know baking, again, cooking, you can ish it, right? You know, I mean, it can be 30 minutes-ish when you cook a dinner, a savory dish. It doesn't have to be to the second. Baking, I feel like, has to be to the second. So I'm never as confident with my baking. So we'll see. That was my big adventure. I am so tired of sugar now, though, from tasting the cake and trying all this. And I like sweet stuff in very small amounts, and so I get tired of sugar very, very quickly. Now I'll be polite. Plus, I want to see if the cake came out okay tonight, and I'll have a piece. But then I am done. I am so sugared out right now. I don't want to see sugar for a while. But yeah, so that's our plans tonight. So I'm hoping maybe this weekend I will get some more stitching in, and today probably not so much. So that's about it. And then I don't know what's going on the rest of the week. I think it's a quiet week. I don't think I have a lot of appointments. It seems like lately there's appointments here, there, and everywhere, but I think this coming week it might be a little bit more quiet. I will take it. Oh, a couple things house-wise, but I'll tell you about those next week after it's been done. Alrighty, so that's about it. I hope you got a lot of stitching in while you sat with me. I have, of course I have to heat it up. I have my cup of tea. This morning we have elderflower tea. Now, elderflower and elderberry are two very different things. Elderberry will taste like cough syrup. This elderflower, which is Republic of Tea, which is one of my favorite teas, does not taste like cough syrup. Their elderberry does. And sometimes I don't mind that. I do drink it once in a while, but I do warn people that it legit tastes like cough syrup. So, but this one is a nice lighter flavor. And so sometimes I'm just in the mood for that. So that's what today's tea is. I will warm it up and probably drink it while I am stitching after this. Alrighty. So I hope you're well. I hope you are safe. I hope everything is going okay for you this March. Can you believe it is March 17th already? I can't. And yeah, next week I will be showing you some of my April stitching, my choices, because that'll be plans. We have the end of March fast approaching. It blows my mind. But anyway, that's for another day. That'll be for next week's video. Hope all is well, and I hope you got lots of stitching in. Take care of yourself. Remember, your mental, physical, emotional health is super, super important. You matter, and you need to take care of yourself first and foremost as best you can. So until next time, happy stitching.